सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। Almost every one of the deities that we have has definitely a Ashtottara, and along with the Ashtottara they definitely have one Sahasranamavali. Different attributes which connect us to that divinity, that form of divinity. Whenever we have an experience with the form, we immediately want to tag it with a name. And it quite often happens because most of the congregation that I meet, it is on Saturdays and Sundays, and in that brief 1 or 2 minutes when they say Hari Om, or while I'm coming in or getting out, I never get the opportunity to know their names or know their any other details. There was one time 11 years ago when I would sit after the session and then spend time with everybody and talk to them, but now it is like on a different pace altogether. So recently I was in where was it? I was flying through Chicago, and there was some kind of a storm, and the flights were getting delayed, and we had to reroute, rebook. There was a chaos. And suddenly this person comes and he says, Hari Om. Now I ask him, are you Chicago Hari Om? Or you are from anywhere else? Then he looks like he took it to a very offense, and he looks at me, I am Dallas. I said, okay, sorry. I don't know. And sometimes, people, when you see them in Indian clothes and when you see them in formals, especially women, you can't make out even if they are Indian or not. So I looked and I said, okay, which session? So, third session. So I said, okay. But you may have not seen me in this attire, but you have definitely seen and we have spoken. So now I remember her. I don't remember her real name. I remember her as the Chicago lady. Chicago Hari Om. The point is that whenever you see a form, you immediately want to understand the Nama, name. That is how our mind works. That is the mechanics of our mind. As soon as you see a form, you have to tag it with a name. And if you do not know what it is, and you cannot place your finger on which category of tagging do I put this in, there is this restlessness. The mind gets so restless. You want to go, feel it, touch it, experiment with it. I often get the opportunity to do that with food. There was this lady who brought in and said, I have a surprise dessert for you. So I was thinking in my mind, I hope it is only surprise and not a shock. In 20 years I have got enough shocks. So in Hindi they say, दूध का जला छाछ को भी फूक फूक के पीता है. So once bitten, twice shy. So I said, Amma, let me know what it is. No, it is for you to find out what it is. This becomes my trouble again. So I put it in my mouth, and it's very slimy, sticky, no taste or flavor of its own, and there's some sweetness of jaggery added into it. I have never tasted that kind in any Indian cuisine. So I'm like scratching my head, and by the time I finish scratching my head, I observed that there is something happening to my throat. Because this slimy little thing has gone into my throat and it has started itching all from inside. I cannot reach within to, I said, enough of these guess games, tell me what it is. Then she said, this is taro root, a dessert made out of taro root. I said, Amma, then the taro root is not cooked well. Therefore, it is having this itchy sensation. I would advise that nobody else eat it also. See, unless you get the name that it is, you don't know what exactly you're going through. So the nama is always associated with the form. And it's very easy for us to, we interact with, say, for example, what is this? It's a wristwatch. You may have seen millions and millions and millions of watches. So you'll put it in watch, a wristwatch category. Tagging is done. So you see the form and there is the nama. God. What form comes in your mind? Because all this nama and rupa, name and form, is associated with that which you have already experienced. That which you have never experienced, the mind has no clue where to look for. God, Paramatma, Parabrahma Paramatma, Brahman. And sometimes in the Balavihar class, the parents, they are inspired, they want to come and teach, and they start with 6th, 7th grader. Do you know what Brahman is? No, who knows? Do you know what Brahman is? And these are all different names given to that which we think or want to grasp as a concept or conceptualize God. But do we really have that concept also clearly? We don't have the concept of the form very clear. Nirguna Nirakara, we have no concept at all. Saguna Sakara, it depends on who has portrayed it for us. Like the Vishwarupa Darshan of 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, or Purusha Sukta as described in Purusha Sukta. Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha Sahasrakshas Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva Atyatishtat Dashangulam. So the painter sits down and now meditates on that. Sahasra Sirsha Purushaha. So you have seen the Vishwarupa painting. So, Sirshaha, you can very easily portray that. There is one middle Krishna or Vishnu Bhagwan's head, and then different forms, and the later part it will be just few indistinctive forms, and then just to give you that, it is countless number of heads. Sahasra Sirsha Purusha. Sahasrakshaha. On these countless heads there are countless times 2 eyes portrayed. Now they get really stumped when they have to describe in their imagination. Sahasrapat, the feet. Even Sahasra Bahu, you can put a fan of hands on either sides. But Sahasrapat, how do you put the feet? So they leave it alone with 2 feet. So whatever as the painter has imagined, the sculptor has imagined, that is what we get to see. And in fact, today's world, almost every single deity that we have, as for our imagination, in the print format, all of them, or most of them at least, are the blessings of Raja Ravi Varma. Nobody knew how Adi Shankaracharya looked. It is his painting that gives us that he was, that young-looking, charismatic, and with this kind of a cloth on his head, and there are 4 students sitting. Who gave you that idea? Somebody painted it, and that impression, Adi Shankaracharya, we remember that form. Saraswati Devi, Veena Vadini, Hamsa Vahini. So he has painted it, and we get the picture. Or if we go to the temples and we have seen different sculptures, different forms, and we try to associate. And even in that association, it is not a very well-established association. Because half the time we are, at least this used to happen in India, that to get your darshan you have to fight against at least another 50,000 of them who are there. In that little temple, sanctum sanctorum, you have to nudge them, push, and then do your bala pratapa. I mean, these are the devotees. Then there are paid employees. Have you ever been to Tirupati? More than Balaji's name, you only hear Jargandi, Jargandi. You are pushed and pulled and thrown out. And all that you get is about 3 to 5 seconds of darshan. And in that 3 to 5 seconds, that darshan we get, 2 seconds, we close our eyes. Similarly is Vaishno Devi. The first time I went, I was thrilled because the 14 kilometers, in one stretch without stopping. We were all very young, and we walked all the way up. And in those days, it was not morphed or changed as it is today. You had to go through the cave formation into the waters, and the waters are almost to your, to me, it was to the knee or little thigh level. And you have to creep through it and reach there, and there is this Pandit sitting there, and it says Matha Teko. Coming from South India, right? My South Indian head is saying Mata Devi means there should be at least a Devi form or something, and it says, he shows these little rock formations and says, this is Mataji. I said, what? I said, okay, for whatever it is worth, do the namaskar, expecting some chamatkar. See, Mataji, you have a form, and you have always been tuned to understand Durga Devi, Saraswati Devi, Lakshmi Devi, Lalita, Tripura Sundari, Raja Lakshmi, various names, various forms. And you go there, there is no form, there is like 3 little small rock formations. They say, do namaskar. Okay, do namaskar and come out. Even then you put so much of effort, there are people rushing in, and you get that little window. And that little window, how strong is the bridge and connection to that Lord, that divine? There's hardly any connection. So how do we develop that bhakti? How do we develop that bhava towards that Lord and connect with that Lord? When we say Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva, Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva, Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva, you are my everything. How do I end up associating with that which is supposed to be my everything? So every form of deity has been given these attributes of names, 108 names, 1000 names, so that when I understand the meaning behind every single name of it, when I stand in front of that Lord, of these 1000, there will be at least one name that would have hit deep within. Then I say Bhagavan Vishnu. Or when I say Bhagavan Ramchandra ji, Bhagavan Krishna, Bhagavan, whoever is the form of Lord. When I take that name, that one attribute at least clicks in my head. And with that form, I look into that, with that name and the meaning of it, I look into the form. A connection establishes. Bhakti is not something which is, blessed you are if it is right since birth. You have this special inclination towards God, and you find that connectivity and you are blessed. Not everybody is that way. So how do you establish that connection? By going through these different nama, or the names of the Lord, the form which is not of an experience, but the name and the meaning behind is also an experience. With that experience, I try to associate myself with that divine which is not yet a part of my experience. Until when? Until it becomes a part of my experience. Is it visualization? Is it imagination? Is it hallucination? Is it none of the above? It is called upasana. And through that upasana, you tune this mind to that divine which is the core of one's own existence. And where will you have that darshana? In the lotus of our own heart. Until then, this association has to be established within our hearts, firmly. That is the word, the meaning, and associating the word and meaning to that form of Lord. I may be picking this as a joke, but this is something which has really happened. I was staying in somebody's house, and the neighbor, this was in the apartment complex, not even apartment complex, it is like in Bombay they have these little dwelling quarters, and they're all like in a row. इसको क्या बोलते हैं? चार? हाँ. So I was living with somebody for and this was just after the Vedanta course. 6-7 months I had to visit. They said, go speak in that locality. I said, okay. And I went. Now, early in the morning, there was this Tamilian and a Maharashtrian. They were having a big argument. And these were the neighbors. So I come out and look at them, and the Maharashtrian has a hen in his hand, hen or whatever it was, and the Tamilian was all, he was offended because the Tamilian was a devotee of Kartikeya, and every day, day in and day out, whatever he gets up, wakes up, he'll say Murga, 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 Murga. The Maharashtrian's association with Murga is a hen. You keep dreaming of this Murga. I didn't think that you are a vegetarian, I thought. But you keep dreaming of this. I said, okay, let me buy you one. Take this. And it is not a live one. It is like the meat. And this Tamilian feels so offended that his God is being reduced to this dead piece of meat. Nama and Rupa. What Nama associates with what kind of Rupa? Then I had to be the intermediary, and I asked this fellow to go keep that chunk of meat inside and then wash his hands, come outside, and I explained him what Murga meant. And then he himself went and apologized, and he said, I didn't think that you were thinking of the God. For me, Murga is only this. So unless we condition our own mind to tune in with that name, with that meaning, to that form, Therefore, Nitya Upasana is a daily process wherein you start your mind elevating it, lifting it up to that divine and tuning it with this name and the form and the meaning behind it. And then start your day. So we have seen about 249 names so far. So this is the what do you call, 1/4 of the Sahasranamavali. So what is the 1/4 name? So let's chant the entire shloka. Repeat after me. Asankhyeyo prameyatma Visishta Sishta Krutshuchihi Shishta Krutshuchihi Siddhartha Siddha Sankalpaha Siddhida Siddhi Sadhanaha Didha Siddhi Sadhanaha. So till yesterday we saw Vishishtaha. Today we will see Shishtakrit. Shishtakrit. One meaning of Shishtakrit is Shishta. That is the word wherein Shishtachara. Shishtachara, the good noble act. Shishtakrit, the one who has designed all these good righteous actions to live by. Meaning, whenever he has taken the avatar, he has lived these values and dharma to show to the rest of us how well to live this dharma in our day-to-day life. Shishtakrit, the one who has created and lived the Shishtachara himself. If you look at the entire Ramayana, every step, every decision made is such well thought out, balanced way of approach. Ramji had this, immense compassion that as soon as somebody took refuge at him, he would bless them with the best of the best of the best. Sugriva took refuge, and Bhagavan Ramchandraji immediately asked Hanumanji to light the fire, and in the presence of the fire he promised him that he will become the king of Kishkinda. Promised, out of compassion. Vibhishana comes for refuge, and he asks Hanumanji to bring the kalasha full of waters from the ocean, and then does the abhishek of Vibhishana, and instantly there is a deliberation, and after the deliberation is done, Ramji makes Vibhishana, announces that he is the king of Lanka. Oh, Jambavan, Nala, Neela, Angada. This Bhagavan Ramchandraji is very, he jumps his thing. What if tomorrow Ravana comes and he takes refuge? He says, okay, my bad, take your wife Sita. And he gives up Sita ji, and he prostrates to him and says, please, kshamaswa. I take refuge, please pardon me. There is a group discussion among Jambavan, Nala, Neela, Angada and everybody. And nobody is able to give a right direction as to, oh, that's a tricky situation, what will he do now? So they go to Hanumanji. Hanumanji says, why ask me when he is there inside directly? You all can go and talk. So he forwards the case directly to Ramji. So Ramji has a big smile and he says, oh, this is nothing. I did not jump my, opportunity and, promise him of Lanka. If tomorrow, because Ramji is known for his word, and tomorrow if Ravana were to come here and seeking refuge, then I would gladly give him my Ayodhya. And look at his thinking. The epitome of Shishtachara. The reason I always pick on Ramji's life is because it is easy to understand. If I take Krishna's life, everybody will have a shotgun, Texan style, a shotgun in their hand and start shooting down. It does not mean that he is never Shishtachara in his life. Every act of Bhagavan Krishna was also filled with nothing but Shishtachara. But we view him through our broken Shishtachara, our broken system of values and ethics, and then judge him whether he did something right or wrong. It doesn't work that way. So Shishtakrit, the one who establishes the path of righteousness, the one who lives that path and sets an example, is not somebody who is just talk, but he walked the talk and proved to the entire humanity that however challenging it may be, Shishtachara is not something that has to be given up. Shishtakrit. And in a very subtle manner, as the Ishvara, he is the one who makes the law, he is the one who implements the law, and he is the one who makes sure that those who follow the law get the benefit out of it, and those who go against it get punished for it. If that system of reward and punishment is not there, then the Shishtachara does not have any meaning. See, usually at home, children are scared of one of the parents. Isn't it? Very rarely, but surely there is in a household wherein they are scared of both. Otherwise they are scared only of one. And when things really go bad, then that person now takes the Vishwarupa, Rudra Rupa. Isn't it? Because one of them only keeps threatening. Do it or else. Do it or else. The other one says, this is the way. Do it, you will be rewarded. Don't do it, you will be punished. And when they say that you will be punished,